Hey everybody, Katie here. I'm kind of doing a different video from what I usually do. I didn't ever want to have to make this video, but circumstances have changed in my mind to where I feel like it's necessary to do this. I guess some disclaimers I want to put out there. First of all, there's going to most likely be some language in this video. Talk about some not so pleasant stuff. This is not meant to be any kind of drama video. I am not somebody who likes to get involved in drama. If you know me very well at all, or if you watched any of my videos, I very much base my life, my personal life, my business life, everything in general, on being positive. I love people. I'm very much committed to helping people and to doing anything I can to be a better person myself. As far as in the seller community goes, I love to be able to help other people to be better sellers. I just love it. I tend to gravitate towards positions where I am kind of a leader. I've always been that way. Before I was doing eBay, I was working in the nonprofit world. I had got my degree in nonprofit management. I was executive director for a nonprofit. It's really important to me that I do something with my life that's bigger than myself. And so when I did get into eBay, which I love doing eBay, I love selling on eBay, when I did get into it, I still needed that element in my life of doing something bigger than myself, helping other people. So it's super important to me. It's a big part of who I am. And so I just tend to kind of gravitate to kind of these positions. And so I like to look at things from an optimistic point of view. I like to be hopeful. I like to think the best of people. I like to think the best of a situation, and I tend to be of the philosophy that it's better to focus on the positive. And when there is negative around you, when there's negative people around you, there's people that want to do you harm, the best thing you can do is to cut them out of your life, and just separate from them, and then leave it behind you, and not think about them, not talk about them. There's just not really any point, and that's generally how I live my life. Unfortunately, there's been some things that have happened over the past, I don't know what, 10 months or so, that kind of made that impossible to do. And that's where I'm coming to you guys. I'm going to talk about a specific person by name. And, since this all happened, I was super adamant about never addressing this publicly, never speaking this person's name, never talking about it, because I just didn't want to get into this ridiculous public battle. I didn't think that this person deserved the attention. I think they thrive on getting even negative attention and the drama of it. And I didn't want to be a part of that. I just thought, you know what, the best thing I can do is live my life, do positive things, put good out into the world, and I'm going to succeed no matter what, because that's what I'm doing. And someone who lives their life in a very negative way, hurting other people, eventually that's going to come around. I do believe in karma. I believe what you put out, you get. Do unto others as you have done unto you, the whole golden rule. Like, I believe in all that, whether it's philosophical or spiritual or whatever, I believe that. And so to me, it was like my best way of dealing with a bad situation was to do well. But I've come to a point where I feel like too many people are being hurt, and I don't see enough happening to battle it. And I think more people are going to be hurt, and I think at some point someone's going to be hurt to a degree that we can't go back from. And it's time to talk about one of the biggest, if not the biggest, bullies within the eBay seller community. I think it's time that somebody speaks up, and it looks like it's going to have to be me. A lot of people who have been directly affected by this person are scared to speak, and for good reason. They've seen what kind of retaliation comes from this person, and they're scared to get involved in that. And while I've avoided personally some of that myself, I have seen firsthand how it's affected people that I love. And it's time that it gets talked about publicly and dealt with publicly, and people understand what's happening, because I think there's no excuse for the kind of bullying that's been going on. And If I have to be the one that has to bring it out and I'm the one that has to deal with the consequences, then so be it. I understand that the position that I'm in the community as this positive, supportive kind of leader to other sellers. I get that this might damage my reputation. I get that I'm taking a risk here, bringing up this drama, and I could hurt myself, I could hurt my own business, but at this point, I think talking about this and bringing the truth out is much more important. I'm sorry this is such a long intro, you're probably like, what are you talking about? So let's get down to it. A lot of you may have known me from like last year and prior when I was a part of a group called the Thrifting Board. This is a really big, one of the bigger Facebook groups, and I will still to this day say that I think the Thrifting Board is, if not the best Facebook group out there, one of the best Facebook groups out there for eBay sellers. What drew me to that group is I love the whole philosophy of the group. They really limit how much you can, just being complaining, like posts complaining about eBay, complaining about the post office, complaining about this, complaining about that. Down talking buyers, blocking buyers, talking about getting scammed. They really limit a lot of that in that group. And I think that's awesome because I really think that there are a lot of other groups that get bogged down in negativity, get bogged down in bitching and complaining and moaning. And I think that gets in the way of us being able to be successful, which is why I talk about the whole boss up thing. It's about taking control of your own success. I just think that you need to get rid of the negativity and focus on being a better seller. And I honestly think the Thrifting Board is probably the best group out there for that. Honestly, I still believe that. I very much believe that. There's some great people in that group. It's a huge group. I think it's over like 40,000 now at this point. I don't know exact numbers because I'm not in the group anymore. The problem with the Thrifting Board is behind the scenes, the leadership is toxic. And when I say leadership, I'm specifically talking about Jason T. Smith. He is the one that runs that group. He has some lifeguards underneath him. And, some people probably have seen some instances where he has lashed out at people, but I am here to talk about him and the way that he bullies people and the way that he goes after people and systematically tries to just absolutely destroy their lives. Absolutely, completely destroy their lives because he thinks he's entitled to. And it is the most disgusting behavior I've ever witnessed in a human being that I've actually been involved with in my life. I've never seen this kind of behavior. It is completely appalling. And I have seen firsthand how it affects people, how it hurts people, how it really tears people down. And he's been doing it for a very long time. I think there are a lot of people out there, I think a lot of you out there who's watching this video right now may have either witnessed it or personally been a victim of his bullying. And maybe you've been scared to talk out. I know there's, people have talked about it before, but it never really gets much traction. And I think a lot of people are just scared because they think that they will be retaliated against, and with good reason, because that's exactly what he does, is he goes after people. Now what happened is when I was in the Thrifting Board, I was asked to be a lifeguard because, like I said, I tend to move up into a leadership position. I think, I have good ideas, a good understanding, a grasp of how things work, and I'm able to explain them to other people and help other people in a really positive way, and that was recognized, and he asked me to join his lifeguard team to help be an admin in his group. And I thought that was great. I was really excited about it. So I was part of that group. At the same time, Victoria, you know her as LV Pink Panther, Victoria Egan was one of his best friends. She lives here in Vegas, where Jason also lives, and they met each other both being eBay sellers, and they became super close friends. I think they were friends for a couple of years, and they were pretty close. At one point, as I was the lifeguard, Jason did ask me to become kind of like, step up and be like his number 2 man, or whatever, number 2 person. He was going to be focusing on a lot of other things. He was going on a trip out of the country. And so he was going to have me step up in a leadership position within the lifeguards and the group whenever he would be absent or not able to fulfill his duties. At the same time, Victoria was starting a meetup group here in Vegas, and she had asked him to kind of co-lead that group for us, for them here in Vegas. And so they were doing that little thing, as well as just being really good friends. They thrifted together a lot. They hung out all the time, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, also I wanted to warn you guys, this gets a little bit personal. Unfortunately, even though it's my personal life, a lot of stuff has gotten out and been spread out throughout the community. So I'm gonna have to talk about this stuff. Really, a lot of it's like none of anybody's business, none of your business, but I am here, I'm gonna talk about it a little bit. So Vicky and I had met through the Thrifting Board, didn't really have much interaction, you know, within the group, like one-on-one or anything like that, but we knew of each other because, again, I was doing stuff for Jason. We were getting closer, and she was one of his closest friends, so she was kind of seen within the community. She was, you know, well known. So when I came to Vegas for eBay Open, that was the first time we met face to face, and you know, there was a connection that was made there. Neither one of us addressed it or talked about it while I was here at Open, but we both in our own heads were realizing that there was some sort of connection between us. Now, with that said, Victoria was married at the time. Nothing happened. And again, this is personal. I wish I didn't have to even talk about this. It's ridiculous. But she was married. We stayed connected after eBay Open, talking to each other, and realized that there was something real there. And before anything did happen between us, before we got together, she did leave her husband. I ended up moving to Vegas. We are now engaged. We are a couple. We are in love. She's the love of my life. She feels the same about me. It is like one of the most amazing love stories ever. And that's where it should have been left, because guess what, guys? People are allowed to leave their marriages. Nobody has to stay married forever if they don't want to be, and it shouldn't be anyone else's business. So I really apologize with the length of this video. It's absolutely ridiculous that I even have to talk about this stuff. But when everything kind of came to a head between Victoria and her husband, the first person she went to talk about it was Jason. They lived very close to each other. She went over to his house. She was in tears. You know, her whole world was blowing up. She's never regretted it. We're very happy together, but this was a big deal for her. It was a big decision to make. She, a 42-year-old woman in a marriage for almost 13 years, completely blowing up her marriage for someone that I guess you could say she barely knew, but we just knew it was right, and we still know that. But it was a pretty scary, traumatic thing to go through, and having to think about, like, you know, telling everybody in her life what was happening, and she was super scared and just upset, and it was a really, really difficult place she was in. So she went over to Jason's house, told him what was going on. You know, I wasn't there, so I don't know exactly how everything went down. I do know that one of his first concerns was how it was going to affect his business. I don't understand that. I'm not sure why it should affect his business, our personal lives, but that was his first concern. He also was very upset that he was not the first to know. He found out that there were a few ladies, a couple of them within his circle, that knew before he did, and he became absolutely enraged by that. Honestly, I say that now, it doesn't even make any sense. Like, who cares, right? But I'm only telling you this because this is like the beginning of the madness that follows. He was so absolutely enraged that he was not the first to know. And had he been the first to know, he would have told us how stupid we were being and talked us out of it, in his words. But he was upset about that, as well as upset about how we were going to ruin his business, because Victoria was doing the meetup group with him, and I was helping him as I was supposed to be the top lifeguard. And somehow us falling in love and getting together was going to ruin his business and ruin his brand. And so that, as far as I understand it, is what began everything, because then he began the utterly insane campaign to completely destroy Victoria's life. I am talking, he was talking to her husband, messaging her husband, lying to her husband, telling her husband about how she was telling everyone that he was physically abusive and that I was saving her from an abusive marriage, which never, ever, ever happened. He was contacting all of her friends locally as well as across the country. He was making up crazy stories. She had this barrage of people contacting her, saying horrible things to her nonstop. I was all the way in Oregon. She was here in Vegas. It was absolutely horrible. It was absolutely horrible. The girls that we had been talking to just before all this went down, These were women who were part of his inner circle, who were very supportive, knew everything that was going on, were very supportive of us. And in the matter of about 30 minutes of talking to Jason, completely turned around and shut us out of their lives, and have been part of this whole campaign to lie about us and to spread awful, awful, awful rumors. It's really just been unbelievable. Vicky was immediately thrown out of the Thrifting Board. I was not thrown out of the Thrifting Board because I still had a purpose. I was still somebody that he wanted to have on his team. Because here's the thing, I had just won the Shine Award at eBay Open, so I was important and I could get him somewhere. Because here's the thing, Jason T. Smith doesn't care about you unless you have something to offer him. And if he thinks you don't have something to offer him, then he doesn't want to have anything to do with you. I had something to offer him. He couldn't go after me and attack me personally because I had the Shine Award. And that's been a pattern of his. He feels very, very threatened by anyone who is successful. He has a very hard time acknowledging the success of those people around him, even his own friends. And anyone who sees any amount of success that he feels like somehow takes away from him, he doesn't like them, which is why he's privately trash talked Chris Lynn, Casey Paris, Nicole State. I know Ryan Roots, like, come on, Rally Roots, like, they're like the nicest people in the world and you're gonna like trash talk them, like, really? You know, anybody, he will go after his friends if they have anything to do with people that he doesn't like. I know that he's gone after friends who dared to have anything to do with Chris Lynn. I know that he's gone after friends who have dared to have anything to do with me, because he wants to control every situation, which is what I think it all comes down to, is that he didn't get to control the situation between Victoria and myself. He didn't get to control what I did or what she did, and he doesn't like it if he can't control it. And so he will go after you, and he will get the people around him to help go after you. Now, a lot of the lies that he has spread have been unbelievable and completely unforgivable. If you don't know Victoria very well, Vicky is from Rhode Island. Specifically, she's from West Warwick. And you may or may not remember back in 2003, February 20th, 2003, the band Great White was doing a show at a club in West Warwick called The Station. That was where the club was. There was a pyrotechnic display that went wrong at the beginning of the first song, and within 90 seconds, I believe, the whole place was completely in flames. It burned down so fast. There were hundreds and hundreds of people inside. 100 people died. Over 200 people were injured, many of them horribly injured and scarred for life, physically, mentally, everything. It was a horrible, awful tragedy. And Victoria was there. She was in that fire. She was there with 4 friends. There were 5 of them there. 1 of them died. 2 of them were horribly burned. Victoria she was somewhat burned, but she didn't have any like lasting physical scars. She does have like some lung damage, but she was there and was able, because of a friend, was able to get out to safety. Right after that fire happened, she started a nonprofit to raise money for the families and the survivors, because a lot of them were just working class people, and suddenly they had this major medical emergency, and you know, they had later on there was a lawsuit and they did win money, but it took like 6 to 8 years, and in the meantime people needed to like take care of their families, they needed to take care of themselves, they needed to deal with medical bills, so many different things. So she started a charity. It was her way of coping with what happened. She said many times that had she not had somewhere to like direct that energy, she very likely would have committed suicide. I'm sorry to get super dark here, but this was something that happened in Victoria's life. It's a big part of her life. She was very, very involved. She was involved in she gave grand jury testimony. She was a part of the lawsuit. She did the charity. She was very much the spokesperson for a lot of the survivors. She appeared on Larry King Live, on other national news shows. If you Google her name in the station fire, you'll see her quoted in a Rolling Stones article that was on the 10th anniversary, which was like 5 years ago. So you know, there's video footage of her being coming out of the fire. Like this is like her identity, right, guys? Every year she volunteers for a week in the summer at a summer camp in Washington. She pays to send herself, to fly herself there. She's there for a whole week away from her business to volunteer as a camp counselor for kids at this burn survivor camp. It's this amazing camp where these kids get to go for a week and just be normal, regular kids who aren't any different from the other kids around them, because they've all experienced this traumatic thing in their lives. And she does that every year. She also is a big part of this big burn conference that happens every year, that people come from all over the world to go to. She volunteers there, again, pays her own way there, is very much active in setting it up and doing all the stuff in the middle, everything. She puts a lot of her time into it. It's part of her identity. It is huge. And you might be wondering, why am I talking about this? Well, because it comes down to this. One of the big things that Jason T. Smith was telling people, and I would guess that this is maybe a lot of how he got people to completely turn against Victoria and shut her out of their lives, is he told them that she was never in the fire, that she lied that she was in the fire. She inserted herself into this tragic event so that she could get attention. And that's what she's been doing this whole time, is lying. Now, first of all, it's a huge lie. And it's something that's easily verifiable that she was a part of this. And it is so absolutely disgusting and insulting, not only to the 100 people that died, but their families, to the people who survived this, to the people whose lives are forever changed by this event. It is absolutely insulting to their memories, to those who are still here with us, out of some personal vendetta because he was slighted, he is going to try and tear down her reputation and everything that she's done as a part of this community to try and help the people that she was there with, and to help people after, that he would tell anyone that she would be that kind of a person who would lie about something like that. And in turn, he's the one who is lying about it. When that story came out, when we found out that that's what was happening, it completely, it hit her so hard. It hit Victoria so hard. And she was so completely broken by that. Like that, not broken, but I mean, I don't think, you need to understand, like, she suffers from PTSD. This is like a huge part of her life. We were just back in Rhode Island. We got to be there for the ceremony for the 15 years, the 1 year anniversary of the park that they built. That she was a big part of raising money for on the site of where the station fire happened. It's a sacred part of her life, and those people that were involved in it are a sacred part of her life. They're amazing people. And here's a man who is so angry because he wasn't told first about something, because he thought somehow us falling in love and getting together was somehow going to hurt his business. And so he took it upon himself to try to destroy like her reputation around something that in my mind is absolutely sacred. It's just, it's not okay. It's not okay. And the fact that there's people out there, and we don't know who they are, who believe this story is awful. It's absolutely awful. And it doesn't stop there. Like, the bullying has kept going. We've heard stories that he has been telling many people about how he plans to get us both into a public space together so that he can publicly humiliate us and make Victoria cry, so that he can be a part of her fall from grace. He has been telling people about his plans to wait patiently for the Shine Award, you know, to wear off for me so that he can actually go after me and ruin my life, ruin my business. He has made these threats. We've continued to hear these threats. I know that his people close to him have even told him he needs to stop because he's taking it too far, because he always takes things too far. I know that, like, I can't even give a shout out to somebody on my YouTube show without them being contacted and told about how, you know, I'm taking advantage of people and hurting people. It is absolutely insane. We are talking about one of the most insecure men who is a misogynist, a narcissist, and he will hurt anyone around him at any cost for any reason if he thinks it will help himself. And if he thinks that you've hurt him somehow or taken something from him, then you're in an even worse position, because he will go after you and he won't stop. He has people who will look up people's home addresses, where they work, how to contact them so that he can go after them. He sends people out to bully other people, and he does it in a systematic way. When he doesn't like someone who is going to be making an appearance somewhere, he will go out of his way to get them pulled from the event. It's absolutely unbelievable. He calls women horrible names. Here's where I'm going to use some bad words. He repeatedly calls women bitches and cunts, and he said a lot more awful things, and this guy puts himself out there as some sort of progressive, accepting man. Look at him. He wears dresses sometimes. The reality is he's a very hateful, misogynistic bully who also, in my opinion, is a bit of a bigot. And so I'm sorry I'm going on this tirade. I hate that I'm putting this out there. But the truth needs to be out there. You know, we just had the whole Me Too movement, and you find out about these people who've been like hurting other people for years and years and years, and nobody said anything. It's because people are scared. Because people get scared. They see somebody who they see as being an important person within a community, and they think they have no power to do anything to fight them. And let me tell you, this needs to stop now. And if I have to be the person who exposes it and exposes Jason T. Smith as the absolutely malicious bully that he is, then so be it. I'm going to be the one that does it. And I don't care what kind of retaliation there is, because I promise you, there's going to be something. I'm going to have to pay for this. I don't know how, I don't know when, but I will have to pay for it. I know how he operates, and I will have to pay for it, but I don't care, because what I care about is I care about the people, mainly women. There are some men he'll go after, but the women are the ones who get the most of it. The women are the ones who get the most hate, and that he will go after relentlessly. I've seen it happen before. I'm going to see it happen again. He pushes people, and he pushes people too far. And one of these days, it's going to result in something really awful happening. I know there's been a couple people who were pushed to the point where they felt like maybe it was the best thing they could do is just kill themselves. I know that sounds really dramatic, but you know what? If you go into somebody's personal life and you try to destroy their relationships, their friends, their identity, and you try to take away, you try to get them involved in all of their their marriages, because he hasn't just done this to us, he's done it to other people. When you do that, when you think you're entitled to do that, and you beat people down, and you get other people to beat them down, and you do it systematically, it takes a toll. And not everybody is mentally prepared to take that kind of fight on. And at some point, somebody's not going to be able to handle it anymore. And I want to be the one who at least starts getting people to talk about this and say, you know what, it's not okay. There's enough bullying in this community. It happens with other leaders in the community, other sellers. Enough, okay? We are here for each other. We are here to build each other up. We are here to help each other be better people. But at the same time, we're here to stand up when we see somebody doing something that they shouldn't be doing. And I'm sick of this. I'm sick of seeing what he does to people. I am absolutely sick of it. He has destroyed people's lives, or at the very least attempted to, and it's done. It needs to be done. I get that at some point, like I said, karma does happen. I think at some point he's going to pay for his stuff because it's going to come back to him. Everything comes around. He slowly eroded his place in the community. He slowly eroded his place amongst eBay. There's a reason why they pulled him back from appearing at things. There's a reason why. There's consequences. You can't just keep treating people like this over the long term and think that everything is going to be okay. He's not the big kahuna anymore, guys. There's a lot of other leaders out in the community who are way bigger than he is now. And if he hasn't figured it out yet, he's going to figure it out soon. because he's not at the place where he thinks he is. But the reality is that I need to speak out because I think there's more of you out there. I think there's a lot of you out there. And I'm not posting this video so that you guys can come and comment a bunch of stuff and make it personal and attack, like, you know, people's appearance or things like that. We're talking about actions here. We're talking about what people do, how they treat other people. And I do hope that I inspire some of you who have been victimized by Jason T. Smith to step up and talk about it, okay? And step up and report it. Because if he's doing this to me, if he's doing this to Vicky, if he's doing this to a lot of other people I know personally, I know he's done it to way more people. I absolutely know that. I know how he operates. He manipulates people and he hurts people. And if you don't do what he says, you pay for it. And so I'm just asking you, please, if he has ever done anything to you personally, put it out there. It's time that we talk about this, okay? We can't allow this kind of behavior to be going on within our community. It's not okay, guys. I want to be here as a positive influence, but at the same time, at some point, we have to talk about this stuff, okay? Because it's not okay. All right, I don't know if this is going to help. I don't know what this is going to do. I realize as soon as I post this, it's going to cause a whole big, I don't even know what. I don't know what's going to come back from it. Am I a little bit nervous? Yeah, I am, because I don't know how this is going to affect me. I know I'm able to deal with it. Whatever happens, I can deal with it. I don't want to think about how it's going to come back on Vicky, because honestly, it's more than she can take at this point. You know, she doesn't want to go to open. She doesn't want to have anything to do with anything that has to do with eBay, because this has been nonstop for the last 10 months. Absolutely nonstop, okay? When you have somebody saying that you're a liar, when you have somebody saying, you know, I mean, there's so much more to it. He said that he's told people that she left her charities under a cloud of fraud, and that she's on the no-fly list for Australia, that like she's done so many horrible things that if you knew how bad the things that she's done, you'd be compelled to call the police and have her arrested. I mean, it is absolutely insane. So anyway, enough rambling. I just want to say I want the bullying to stop. And I want any of you, if you have personally been affected by this, if you've had him bullying you or his people bullying you, that you step up and you help me to fight against this, because it's not okay. It absolutely is not okay. This community is about us being a family and us supporting each other. And this kind of behavior is absolutely not okay. And it has to stop. It has to stop. We need to treat each other like human beings. And we need to be kind to each other. And when we see somebody being abused, we need to talk about it. And we need to call it out. And it doesn't get to just be let go because somebody happens to be a big enough leader in the community and have a big enough Facebook group. Okay, you guys? That's not a reason. We need to pay attention to who these people are that are leading us, who we are following, and what their values are, how they act, and how they lead people, because you don't want to be a part of this. You really don't. So I guess that's the end of my ridiculously long rant. I apologize. Again, I hate doing anything like this. I hate having to feel like I'm taking this negative. I don't even like having to say his name and acknowledge his stuff. For all I know, he's going to love this, and it's only going to start everything all fresh. So yeah, anyway, thanks guys. I love all you guys. Thanks for your support. And hopefully this is the end of any videos like this, and I can continue forward and just do the happy, supportive, awesome, amazing, positive stuff that I like to do, because that's all I really care about. Yeah. All right, bye.